Have you ever wondered how to double overwrap your guides and rollers, or even when the right time to do it is? If so, then you're in the right place, because today I'm going to shed some light on double overwraps. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to my recent subscribers. So here we go. Shout out to Dylan Chitwood, Maud Yusuf, Ken Marbutt, Valhalla JKU, and Angry 240. Hey guys, it's John with ReelBlue Custom Rods, and today we're going to talk about double overwraps, how to do them and when to do them. And we're also going to talk a little bit about thread. First, it's important to know that thread come in two forms. Basically, you have your regular untreated thread, and then you have your NCP or no color preserver thread, right? So the NCP thread is treated to resist darkening when you apply your finish, right? So there's something like this here in this green. This would be basically like an NCP, right? So a color fast thread, right? So it's treated to maintain its original color once your finish goes down, versus this here, the same exact color. Yes, the same exact color, but basically this thread is basically your regular nylon thread, but it's not treated, right? So it will darken, and basically the lighter the color, it may even take on more kind of a translucent color, if you will, or you'll be able to basically, it'll still be like this green color, but you'll be able to see through it a little bit and see basically your guide foots below it at the bottom. So again, you have your regular untreated thread, and then you have your NCP thread or your non-color preserver thread. One of the other things to note about this, and I'll show you guys as I'm working on, as we're doing this double overwrap, but basically there's some things you need to take into consideration when you're using regular nylon thread, or again, this NCP, or what we're calling, this one here is a color fast. So it's a treated thread to maintain its original color, right? So I don't use color preserver. That's just something that I choose not to use. That being said, I do use thread like this Pro Wrap Color Fast thread, but I like to use this in decorative wraps, or as in trims. I really don't like to use it, and I have, and I will continue to, but I try not to use this that often as an overwrap, and you guys will see why. So again, I don't use color preservers. I don't apply it to, like this nylon thread. I won't go on and apply a color preserver to it. I just rather use a color fast thread to do that. Now, getting to the overwrap, today I'm going to be using this blue color, again, a regular nylon Pro Wrap blue color that I have. And I'm actually using a size D wrap. So when you're doing overwraps, you can use size C or size D. Those are the two sizes really you're going to use. To be quite frank, I don't even mess around with size C. And there's another video that I'm going to make that talks a little bit more about thread work, and we'll get into sizes. But just so you know, I almost always default to D or size D thread for an overwrap. For my underwrap here, you can see I got a little bit of work here. So I've got a blue metallic thread, size A for my underwrap, and then these three little tag wraps in here that you can see right here. Now I have a white and I have a green, right? The white and the green are both color fast threads, right? So they have the NCP, right? So they've been treated to maintain that original color. The reason why is, especially with a white thread, if it's not, it takes on more of that translucent color. And then of course here, This is a 3rd ID or 3rd Infantry Division themed rod, so I'm sticking with blue as the majority of the color with little hints of white and this kind of olive drab green color in it. So I chose to use color fast or color treated thread for those tag wraps on the inside. So the first thing I'm gonna do, again, I'm gonna go ahead and take my D-size thread and get it set up here really quick. And while I'm getting it set up, hey, welcome to the channel, guys, and thanks for watching. And if this is your first time at ReelBlue Custom Rods, and you think I'm doing a great job, first, one, welcome. Two, let me know what you think down in the comments block. And if you like the video so far, go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe. I always appreciate when people subscribe, but go ahead and subscribe and then turn on notifications and be notified when I release new videos, which are always on Mondays at 4:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then lately I've been also doing some videos on Thursday, but we'll see how we continue to do that. So again, I got my size D thread set up. The next thing I want to do, I've kind of already got this all marked off. I've got masking tape. I've done my under wrap like I said. So I put this piece of tape here. That's my mark that I created. So I know where the guide goes. And then I'm using some heavy duty Virtuous guides on this rod. And so I know that when I put this tape down next to the tape there, that the foot of this guide goes right next to that. And then I go ahead and I put some tape over the top of it to get it set up, and then I pull it off. All right, so guides that I should be doing double wraps on. All right, the first thing you need to know is anytime you're building big game rod and you use rollers, you should always double wrap your rollers. Okay, you're gonna find that in any literature that you find out there. It's gonna tell you that you should double wrap your rollers. And I do double wrap all of my rollers. Something else I do is I double wrap if I'm making a heavy duty or a big game rod and I'm using casting guide or traditional or conventional guides. I will double wrap these guides as well. And so this rod right here that I'm working on, this is a 50 to 100 pound 6-foot rod. So I'm going to go ahead and double wrap these casting guides. So how we do that, again, get the thread set up. Let me get some thread, get my excess here a little bit. All right. So then how I like to do it is I come right up to where the tape was at, right on the edge of the tape, go to the bottom side of the rod. Kind of put my finger down, get a bite on that thread a little bit. Just going to go around a few times. All right. So I'll go around, like I said, a few times. I'm just kind of tightening up my thread. I'm going to pull this tight here in a second. This working end, a little snug. Just make sure that thread is down there nice and neat. All right. And then I'm just going to start turning the rod. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, cut this working end off. And so basically a double overwrap, is like any other guide wrap, right? So just do your guide wrap. You can see I've already prepped my the guide rod feet a little bit, taken off some of that paint, filed it down a little bit, get it smooth. All right, so now I'm gonna come up there. So you can see that's my underside. Now all I'm doing, oops, came off a little bit. Again, take your time. And I just, I wrap the guide over, and then I pack as I go a little bit. All right, so we'll wrap this guide. Just bear with me. It's taking my time. All right, so nylon thread. So I like to use this thread, regular untreated thread. And I know there's a lot of people that love, to use color preserver, or a lot of people that like to use, preserved color treated thread. And again, I do too. Like I told you, I use it for tag wraps and some decorative wraps and stuff, but I have used it for over wraps, and even double over wraps. And I chose to do it because the colors that I was working with, I wanted to really maintain that color. But there's some things you need to consider when you're using, NCP versus untreated thread. Now, untreated thread, like what I'm using right here. So when I put my finish on here, of course, and it's a blue color, but of course, it would become a little bit darker. And this blue, when I put the finish on here, it'll actually come up with a dark navy blue color, which I really like. But I also feel that non-treated thread actually absorbs your finishes better, and gives you a better hold and a better look. And what I mean by a better look is a solid color, a solid colored look. So when the thread is on there, you get this, when your finish is on your thread, you have this solid color, in this case, blue. It's just blue. You really can't see a lot of thread work in there because it's a dark color. If I chose to go light and I almost, get this kind of translucent look to it, if I'm using a lighter, really light blue or like a light green or a white, you'll actually be able to see some of the strands in there because you're actually able to kind of see through it. All right. So here's an example of a finished dark color, right? So you can't see the thread, the individual thread work in there. You just have this black color on this guide that I'm showing you right now. Versus, okay, so we stop looking at that one. So now let's look at another thread that has NCP, or that is color, like this color fast thread, and this is that green color, right? And so here, even though it holds this color really well and it looks really, really neat, you can actually see the individual threads in this overwrap, right? And so, and that's totally fine. If you want to be able to see those threads, that is totally fine. And like I said, I've done it before on some of my wraps. But if you don't want to see the threads, then I like to stay with a non-treated thread. I like to stay with a non-treated thread and a dark thread at that. So still doing this first wrap. So I'm just trying to find the spot I want to go up to. So you can see that line right there. So I think I'm going to go 1, maybe 2 more. All right. The other great beauty about using untreated thread is if you make a mistake and you get like a little overwrap, it's not, perfectly nice and tight, and you get a little thread wrap over the top, you'll hide that once you put your finish on. So let's talk about the overwrap. So now that we have our first wrap, so you can see that where that little thread pops up right there that I was talking about, that'll be hidden once I put the finish on, right? You see the side sticking out right there. So once I put the finish on, that'll blend in and you won't even see it. So let's talk about the double overwrap. So once I've wrapped all the way up to where I want to be on this guide foot right there, right? All I do is I wait till I come to the bottom side of the rod right here. I pull the thread up just a tiny bit. I hold it with my finger. It's off camera. I know you can't see it, but here's what I'm saying. So I'm holding the thread with my finger as I turn it. And I'm only going to hold it for the first few times, but I'm just trying to get it set where I want it. And then it shouldn't be an issue moving back. And that's really it. So now as I wrap it, you can see the thread is slowly moving back to the left. And I'll just guide it with my finger and my burnishing tool a little bit, and the slider back here in the back. And again, you always want to double over wrap when you're using rollers. Anytime you're using rollers, whether they're 30 weight rollers or 100-pound rollers. And so one of my best practices that I like to do, one, just because I guarantee my work, on two, I don't want to have any problems or failures. Like nobody wants to have a rod failure on the boat, right? So I always, on heavy rods, I always double over wrap the guides, whether they're casting or spinning, it doesn't matter. If it's a heavy rod, I'm going to double over wrap them. And especially when you're double over wrapping, where I was talking about earlier, your finish, sinks in through your non-treated thread easier, which is a true statement, right? You definitely are going to want that effect if you're doing a double over wrap, because remember, you're putting twice the amount of thread down over a guide foot, and so you want to make sure that finish will go all the way down through those guides, down through that thread work, get down around the guide foot, all the way down to the blank itself, and create that bond. All right, so I'm getting to the spot where I'm not ready to tie it off. So what I'm going to do is go ahead, pop my little string in there. All right, all the way down to the end. Bring that string over. Pinch it off. Run working in through the loop. Pull it tight. And then again, the great thing about using non-treated thread versus your NCP is when I run lines up underneath here and tags, some people will, pull through, cut, and then pull it through. That way it's hidden, which is a great technique. But when I'm using non-treated thread, I don't have to worry about that because, again, once I put my finish on there, you're not going to see where I pulled that line through, which is totally different than when you're using a metallic thread like this or a NCP or treated thread like the Color Fast thread. So I hope that helps. Yeah, so that's a double overwrap. And so the next thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and double overwrap this foot here on this casting guide. Then once I get that double overwrap done, I'll go ahead and add a couple extra tag wraps on the back end. Yeah, and then I'll be done. So, hey, I hope that you found this video useful. If so, please feel free to share it with somebody that you think will find it interesting and find it useful themselves. And then again, like I said, hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications to get notified when I release my videos on every Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And if there's something else that you want to see, or if you want to see a specific video on something, or you're not sure how to do something, hit me up down in the comments block. Let me know what it is. If there's, again, a video you want me to make, again, down in the comments block. And I'll go ahead and make that video for you. I got a few other great videos in the work for you. One of them, I'll just let you know now, one of them is going to be the tiger wrap. And I got some other stuff coming out too as well. So stay tuned. Again, thanks for watching. I appreciate all your support, guys. Really couldn't do this without you. Again, hey, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Okay, guys, until next time, take care.